Find your comfortable cross-legged seat or any comfortable seated position on the mat. And we'll start just by dropping in. So just to reiterate, today's yoga flow is a sequence of poses meant to focus on the throat chakra, which is associated with the element of ether, the color blue, associated with the throat, neck, jaw, and shoulders region of the body. It's also associated with sattvic energy, so let's try to find that here today. So we're going to slow down. We're also going to move our bodies, trying to find that balance, that oneness, that non-duality. As you start to settle in, just find your breath, notice the breath, start to observe. And as always, if this cross-legged seat is very uncomfortable, you can put a block under your hips. Elevate the hips a little bit if it feels right, if you need to. So as you settle in, start reflecting on what you feel in the physical body, the intellectual body, the emotional body, and the spiritual body, whatever that means to you. We're going to make space in this practice just to slow down. So try to ease into that mindset, relax into that mindset, create this space for yourself. Give yourself permission just to relax into the body, to feel supported by the earth. Let go of anything you're holding on to and just become present in this space on your mat. Check in with your spinal alignment and the quality of breath. Just honoring that natural breathing rhythm as it waxes and wanes. Throat chakra is also associated with good communication and being able to speak your truth. So if you want to bring a mantra to today's practice, this is a good time to do that. Your mantra could be something like, I trust the power of my words to manifest my intentions. We will be engaging the throat chakra today, so we'll be practicing lion's breath. We'll also be practicing a little chant. The chant associated with the throat chakra is hum. So anytime we're in a meditative position and you want to incorporate that chant, feel free to do so. Accessing that frequency helps for chakral alignment. If you want to practice now, take a deep breath in, and on your exhale, hum. Connecting with the breath, noticing what you feel in the throat. Inhaling deeply on your exhale, hum. free to take a mudra with the hands. Close your eyes at any point if it feels good. This practice is your own, so feel free to make space for that. Be curious, be creative, and explore. When you're ready to incorporate easy movement, we'll slowly open the eyes if they're closed, and we're just going to start with some gentle neck rotations. So you can start by drawing a circle with the tip of the nose, very slowly, always moving mindfully, making today's practice about slowing down. You can also just drop the chin to the chest if that feels good. Rock gently side to side, rolling the chin from the left ear to the right. Feel free to explore that range of motion in the neck. Maybe reversing direction. Really slowing down so you can be present and observe what you feel and where you feel it. Try to put your mind's eye where you feel sensations, just to observe more closely. Take this time to be curious about what you feel in the head, the neck, the shoulders, the upper back, the throat. Explore your range of motion in any direction that you're curious about. And just spend time noticing, especially if there are sticking points, anything that you feel or hear. You might tuck the chin and just rock gently through the middle, stretching down the back of the neck. Just allowing the neck to move through its range of motion and checking in with the body. If you've lost connection with the breath, reconnect, notice. Maybe start to let go on your exhales. Take your time exploring here, however you need to. When you're ready, we'll slowly close that circle with the nose, bringing it smaller and smaller until you find yourself back at center. When you're there, check in with that spinal alignment again, pulling the shoulders back, nice and open through the chest, strong upper back, strong abdominal wall, long through the neck, tucking the chin just a little bit, nice deep breaths. If you're feeling very sattvic, you can stay here, chant or meditate. If that Rajas energy is taking over, we can continue stretching through the neck. We'll start just by dropping your right hand down to next to the right hip and flexing through that wrist. So your fingertips are pointed up toward the ceiling and your palm is hovering just above the mat. So make sure you feel that connection with that nice long line of energy from the palm all the way up, maybe even through the shoulder. And then we'll drop the left ear over the left shoulder just to extend that long line of energy through the head and neck. So the angle at which you're flexing in the neck will determine whether or not you're connecting with that line. So be curious in summary. Find that connection. And then once you're there, hold, reconnect with the breath. Breathe deep, observe. And maybe start incorporating some gentle movement either through the wrist, sliding it to forward or backward, to the left or to the right, depending on your orientation. Just gently moving it, exploring what you feel, letting those sensations guide you. And then maybe same thing in the neck. Maybe you tuck the chin a little bit more, pairing those gentle micro movements to get that deep connection through the back of the neck, down along the spine maybe, into the trapezius and the rhomboids. Just finding that connection, taking what you need, noticing what you feel. If you want a little more intensity in this stretch, you can very gently raise that left hand and rest it on the right ear, not pulling or pushing, just letting gravity apply a little more pressure. Maybe tucking the chin a little bit more, getting deep through the back of the neck. It's your practice. Feel free to explore. Just not forcing anything, being nice and mindful. Don't forget to incorporate those nice deep breaths and just notice the sensation of your breath through your throat as you stretch. When you feel good on that side, if your hand is on your ear, release it slowly, gently, mindfully. And then we'll gently bring the neck back up to that neutral position. Release the right hand. And we'll do the same thing on the second side. So we'll start by finding that nice spinal alignment, palms open on the knees, open through the chest, nice long spine. And then we'll drop the left hand to outside of the left hip, hovering just above your mat. Fingertips are flipped up toward the ceiling, so you're kind of flexed through the wrist. Find that long line of energy through the hand, through the forearm. Find a good connection, and then drop that right ear over the right shoulder, engaging with that new line of energy. Noticing what you feel, especially through the neck. Maybe finding and incorporating a little bit of micro movement. Or if it serves you, just coming to stillness, observing that line of energy, noticing what you feel. Remember, you can gently place that right hand on top of the left ear if it feels right. Just tucking the chin a little bit further to protect the neck, stretching deeper into the traps and rhomboids. Reconnect with the breath. Let go of what's not serving you. Let your body know you are in control. It's okay to relax. When you feel satisfied on the second side, you can gently release your hand if it's there. Gently bring the neck back up to that neutral spine. Find your nice alignment. Take a deep breath. And from here, we're going to come into some side body stretches. So we will once again bring that right palm all the way down to the mat this time on the outside of the right hip. Just relaxing it next to the right hip, fingertips pointing away. And then we're going to slowly slide the palm away from the body, coming down onto the forearm, or maybe just bending at the elbow, coming down toward the forearm, keeping that left hip nice and anchored to the mat, really pulling that open, and reconnecting with that new long line of energy, maybe through the left side body. You can also use a block under your palm if you're just bending at the elbow, whatever's comfortable here. Challenge yourself at your own pace. And when you feel grounded, you can lift that left hand up and over to hover above the right hand, extending that new line of energy, maybe from the fingertips all the way down to the left hip. Noticing what you feel, staying connected with the breath, and staying nice and long through the spine, so not letting the neck collapse, keeping it supported, not straining here. Pulling that left hip open, and then maybe pulling the left shoulder back, looking up toward the ceiling if it feels right. Noticing what you feel. Breathing deep into those sensations, putting your mind's eye there. Letting something go on your exhale. Take what you need from this pose, and when you're ready to switch sides, do so mindfully. You can press into that right palm, lead with the left hand, coming back up through center. Finding that nice long posture, open through the chest. When you're ready, taking it to the second side by bringing the left hand down to the mat, fingertips facing away from you, and just sliding that left palm away from the body. Same thing coming down onto the forearm or bent elbow, maybe a block, whatever's in your practice today. And really pushing that right hip open, pulling that right knee down toward the mat. Once you're grounded, slide that right hand up and over, hovering above the left. Really reaching, finding that big sensation, that big connection, all the way down the right side body. Notice what you feel in the hip, side body, maybe even in the fingertips. Take a nice deep breath. And when you're ready, let something go. Gently press into that left palm. Lead with the right fingertips to come back up through center. Quickly, before we move into the next pose, well, I guess not quickly, we can take our time. We're just going to extend the legs out long, and if your legs, if your hips, if your knees are stiff, take any movement that you need here. If you want to just rock through the knees, let them fall to the left or to the right, do what you got to do. Eventually, we'll bring legs straight out in front, toes pointed toward the ceiling, kind of like a staff pose. You can put your palms planted on the mat next to the hips if it feels good. And from here, we're actually going to bring both palms to the outside edge of the left hip. You can just keep them relatively close to the body. And then we're just going to lean down like you're kissing the earth or praying on your mat. So try to keep that right hip anchored, and you're just pressing down to greet the earth. Take a deep breath. Gently press into the fingertips to come back up to sitting. We'll come through center and do the same thing on the other side. Just bringing the fingertips or the palms to the outside edge of the right hip, and bending into the elbows to greet the earth. Keeping that left hip anchored. Noticing what you feel. Taking a nice deep breath. Press back up when you're ready, slowly like you're moving through water. And we're next going to come into head toward knee pose on the right side. So we'll set up for that by just pulling that right leg open, bringing that left heel to the inside edge of the right thigh. Before we hinge, we're always going to check in with the spinal alignment, so getting nice and long through the spine. You can rotate the torso, pull the right shoulder back so you're kind of facing that right foot. Toes are flexed toward the ceiling. Take a deep breath. On your next inhale, we're going to send the fingertips up toward the ceiling, palms facing one another, getting really long. And then we'll hinge at the hips to bring those hands to the outside edge of that right foot or near there. You can also grab the shin, the ankle, the knee. And if you prefer to take a very passive version of this pose, you can just bring both forearms to open up and frame that right leg, right shin, palms toward the ceiling, whatever you prefer here. Wherever you are, we're not forcing anything, just checking out your range. Pulling that left knee open, pulling that left hip open, melting down toward that right knee. Reconnecting with that side body sensation, noticing what you feel. Putting your mind's eye there and breathing deep into that. Not holding, not pulling. Just observing. Not forcing the body into any shape, just letting the body know it's okay to relax. When you're ready to come out, we'll gently release the hands, open up the palms toward the ceiling, slowly slide them up toward the body as you articulate through the spine, coming back up to sitting. Finding that nice long line through the spine. Take a deep breath, and then we'll switch sides. We'll start by opening up that left leg, bringing that right heel in toward the right thigh. Go ahead and center yourself as you need to, adjust as you need to. Make sure your torso is oriented toward that left foot. Nice and long through the spine. Nice deep breath. When you're ready, send the fingertips upward toward the ceiling, palms facing one another, and then gently hinge at the hips, bringing those hands to the outside edge of the left foot this time, pulling that right knee open, connecting with that side body, those side body sensations on the right. Noticing, observing. Remember, you can also grab the ankle or the calf or keep the hands at the knee if you need to. We're just not pushing, pulling, or forcing any shape for this pose. Take your time here, explore the sensations of this pose. And when you're ready to release, gently let go of the foot. Open up the palms toward the ceiling and slowly articulate through the spine. Just pretend like you're moving through water, being present with every micro movement, to observe and just to feel. Rolling the shoulders back. When you come up to sitting, you can center yourself again on the mat. And we're going to come into a yin yoga pose, which is dragonfly. It's basically just a wide-legged forward fold. So with that, you can make that as wide or as narrow as you want. So we're going to try to come into, or bring the feet close enough together that when we hinge at the hips, you can come to the forearms or onto a block or a pillow, and that you can rest comfortably there for a minute or so. So find whatever angle you want. And once you've got your setup in the base, toes flex toward the ceiling, nice and long through the spine, go ahead and hinge at the hips, coming down onto your block or onto the forearms, coming down toward the mat. And here you can go ahead and relax through the head, the neck, the shoulders. Connect with the breath. Keep those toes flexed up toward the ceiling. Notice what you feel and where without getting overwhelmed. If this pose is way too intense, you can bring the heels closer together. Take this time to turn inward. You can reconnect with your mantra, or you can just practice non-attachment by letting your thoughts go, letting them pass like clouds in the sky. Just observing them, letting them go. Notice the quality of your breath, that prana, that life force, that energy that comes in and out of the body through the throat. Close your eyes if it feels good. And if you lose focus, just come back to the sound of the breath. Take a few more cycles of breath just to let go of what is not serving you. To practice staying present, to feel grounded through the earth. When you're ready to come out, you can bring palms or fingertips to the floor or to the mat. Keeping the toes flexed toward the ceiling, keeping the legs at full extension. Press into the fingertips, walk them toward the body. And again, slowly articulate through the spine, coming all the way out to that nice long posture. Rolling the shoulders back, maybe tucking the chin a little bit. Taking a deep breath. And then we're going to move into tabletop from here. So transition as you need to. If you want to use your hands to pull your ankle in and your other ankle in. If you want to just massage through those hips one more time by dropping the knees in and then out, feel free to do that. And then we will meet on all fours in the center of your mat, the neutral tabletop or neutral spine, tabletop pose. So of course we're going to go through cat-cow as we do. As we do that though today, we're also going to incorporate lion's breath. So remember that's that cleansing breath. We do that to release toxins, to let go, all the things that were themed around this practice. So let's start by incorporating your cat-cow. Move at your own pace. Inhale, drop the belly, drop the low ribs, lift the gaze, maybe pull the shoulders back, tail toward the ceiling. Exhale, press into the palms. Try to look at your rib cage. Pressing, arching through the upper back. So move at your own pace. Sync up with your breath, your natural breathing rhythm. And then as you do that, we'll start to incorporate lion's breath on your exhale. So when you're ready to do that, lion's breath starts with a deep inhale on cow pose. And then on your exhale in cat pose, you'll stick out the tongue toward the chin and then look at your third eye. So you can do that with the eyes closed or the eyes open, but you're looking up and inward toward the center of the eyebrows. So go ahead and incorporate that when you're ready. On cow pose, you'll drop the belly, big inhale. And then cat pose, lion's breath. Move at your own pace. Find what feels good. Really let something go on that lion's breath exhale. Remember, you can always incorporate other movement into your cat-cow. So take any variation you want. You can bend into the elbows, circulate the ribs. You can draw circles with the hips. Find any movement that your body's asking for from here. Don't be afraid to indulge it. Don't be afraid to explore and be curious, even if those poses don't have names in yoga. When you feel good about it, we'll come to rest in an extended child's pose, just bringing the big toes into touch, walking the knees as wide as is comfortable for you, sending the hips back toward the heels, bringing the forehead to the mat, reaching with the fingertips, taking this time to reground, turn inward, slow down. Notice your breath, reconnect. Find your focus. When you're ready, we're going to incorporate some dynamic movement between this pose and cobra pose. So you can bring the knees in toward one another a little bit closer. I find that helps. Keep the palms where they are. You're still in extended child's pose or some variation between that and traditional child's pose. And then from here, you'll just come back up through tabletop, extend through the hips, come into your cobra. Roll the shoulders back, just pressing the hips down toward the mat. And then don't forget to get long through the neck. Maybe roll the head back. Notice what you feel. And then reverse that. So sending the hips back up, bending through the knees, maybe bringing toes together to touch, sending the hips back toward the heels. So we're just going to move through these two poses dynamically. Combination is sometimes called striking cobra. Again, feel free to explore, be curious, move with your breath, move at your pace. Reconnect with your mantra. Take this time to clear your mind. Whatever works for you, whatever you need here today. Moving nice and slowly, honoring the body wherever you are, and noticing what you hear, what you feel. Next time you come into the cobra, part of this dynamic movement, hold there for just a moment. And then take a moment to look over your left shoulder at your left foot, bending into that left elbow just a little. And then same thing on the right, bend into that right elbow, look over the right shoulder at the right foot. Notice what you feel and where. And then bring it back through center. From here, we'll move to downward dog. So coming back through tabletop, curling the toes under, bringing the palms under the shoulders. Fingers are rotated slightly outward, hips up and high toward the ceiling. Heels might not touch the mat, that's okay. It's more important that your back is flat. So if it's not, feel free to bend into the knees. Take your time here, catch your breath or reconnect with it. Pedal through the feet if it feels good. Checking in with your first downward dog of the day. And then we're gonna come into a low lunge. So you can get there however you want. If you want to start by planting the left foot, raising the right foot up toward the ceiling, just feel what you feel there. Bending into the right knee, bringing that right foot all the way up and through. And then lowering that back knee, coming onto the top of the left foot. We'll hinge at the hips here, coming up to that nice long spine. And we're gonna come into cactus arms. So reach forward with the fingertips, up toward the ceiling, get really long, and then bend into the elbows, retract the shoulder blades, kind of pull them down and toward each other behind you. So we're trying to create this long line through the front body, looking up toward the ceiling, noticing what you feel in the neck, in the throat, in the shoulders. Reconnecting with the breath, nice and long through the fingertips, sinking down into that right hip. When you're ready to come out, gently release the palms, bringing them forward to frame that right foot. We'll curl the left toes under, lift that left knee, send the right foot back. From plank pose, slowly lower to the belly. Find cobra or upward facing dog, whatever you prefer. And then we'll meet back in downward dog. Flexing at the hips, sending them up toward the ceiling, toward the sky. Take a second, shake out your hair, relax the head and neck. Check in with that downward dog. You might have a little more flexibility here the second time than you did the first time, and you might not. That's okay too. Wherever you are, let's plant that right foot in the middle of the mat. Lift that left foot up toward the ceiling, really reaching. Bend into that left knee, bring that left foot all the way up and through to frame with both hands. Lower that right knee to the mat. Uncurl the right toes. Hinge at the hips, come up to that long spine. From here, we'll lead with the fingertips forward and then up toward the ceiling, palms facing one another. When you're really long, we'll bend into the elbows, bringing them down and behind, retracting the shoulder blades toward one another, reaching through the fingertips, lifting the gaze toward the ceiling. Take a deep breath. Notice what you feel. Sit down deeply into that left hip. And when you're ready, gently release the palms toward the mat, bringing them forward to frame that left foot once again. And we will flow. Curl the right toes under, lift that right knee. Send the left foot back for plank. Slowly lower to the belly. And this time we're going to stay here. Coming onto the forearms for Sphinx pose. We're just going to take a moment here to reframe. Pulling the shoulders back. Pulling the elbows in toward the hips. Reconnecting with the breath. Feeling nice and grounded. Slowing down. Nice and long through the front of the throat. And then from this pose, you can once again incorporate those gentle neck rotations if it feels right. So you can drop the chin toward the chest. Continue stretching through the back of the neck. Notice what you feel here. It might be slightly different from when you're doing this in a seated position. So feel free to explore. Draw circles with the nose. Check out what you hear, what you feel. And bring it back through center when you're ready, and only when you're ready. Okay, from Sphinx pose, we're going to set up for our chest stretch, but we want to try to focus more on the shoulders today. So try to get a nice connection with that sensation. So from Sphinx pose, forearms are on the mat. We'll start by bringing that left forearm to the outside edge of the left side of the mat. So that elbow is still at 90 degrees, just moved over to the left a bit. From here, we'll bring the right palm directly under the right shoulder, and then use that palm, press into that palm to roll up onto the left hip. From there, we're going to stack knees, hips, and ankles. So you're just laying on your left side with that left shoulder nice and open, left side chest nice and open. And you can just stay here if you're connecting with that sensation already. You can also press into those right fingertips just to feel that connection through the shoulder, through the chest. And just notice what you feel as you do, if you do. Or just rest here gently, breathing deep into the chest, into the shoulder. And of course, as always, if you want to lift that right foot off the stack and set it behind you, coming onto the ball of the right foot, or maybe pressing the whole heel toward the floor, pulling that right knee open, you can do that. Just remember, we're not forcing anything. We're taking this time to slow down. So make sure whatever you choose is within your practice and serves you today. Take this time to be present in those sensations, reconnect with the breath, reconnect with your mantra, or let something go. And when you're ready to switch sides, move mindfully, move at your own pace. You can start by extending the legs fully, rolling back onto the belly. You can reset in Sphinx pose. Coming onto the forearms, lifting the gaze, and then setting up that right elbow to the outside edge of the right side of the mat. Keeping that right elbow at 90 degrees. We'll bring the left palm under the left shoulder and just use it to press you up onto that right hip, stacking the knees, the hips, and the ankles. Getting comfortable. And then finding whatever variation works to stretch through the shoulders, through the neck, through the chest. Take your time to explore, check in, breathe deep, and enjoy this space you've created for yourself. When you're ready to come out, do so gently with love. Take your time. Extend through the knees, roll back onto the belly. Move gently We'll press back up into tabletop or all fours on your mat. So from that neutral tabletop position, once you're there, we're going to stretch further through the back of the shoulders now with thread the needle. So we'll start by planting that left hand toward the middle of the mat, like kind of under the middle of your chest. And then dragging the right fingertips along that left arm and all the way up toward the ceiling, opening up through the chest, noticing your range. Just checking in. We'll bring that right hand underneath the left arm, coming down onto the right shoulder, right tricep, right ear. And then from here, there's a bunch of gentle micro movements you can do to explore. So first, I would slide the left palm up toward that top left corner of the mat. From there, you can push the right hip over to the right. You can explore different angles through the shoulder if you're rolling more onto the shoulder or away from it. You can try to pull that arm in toward the right shoulder socket. Notice what you feel. Just explore those gentle micro movements and how they change the sensations of the pose, if at all. Take this time to breathe deep into the upper back and the backs of the shoulders, the rear delts, the rhomboids, the trapezius. This is a great way to relieve that tension that we sometimes feel through the neck, especially the back of the neck. So make sure you're incorporating the breath and really using the power of the breath here. When you're ready to switch sides, we'll do so first by dragging that left palm under the left shoulder and using it to press up to unravel. Keep that left palm where it is and open that right palm back up toward the ceiling, checking out that range again. Notice what's different, if anything. Take a deep breath. Enjoy this change of perspective. And then bring that right palm back down to the mat. We'll do the same thing on the second side. So bring that right palm toward the middle of the chest, middle of the mat. We'll drag the left fingertips along the right arm, across the chest, slowly up toward the ceiling, checking in with your range on that side. And then gently bring that left hand under the right arm, all the way through, coming down onto the left shoulder, left triceps, left ear. We'll then slide that right hand, right palm toward the top right corner of the mat. You're resting your weight on that left shoulder for the most part, left ear. Press the hips over to the left and maybe try to imagine pulling that left arm into the socket. Reconnect with the breath, incorporate that. Make sure you're breathing deep into those sensations, letting your body know it's okay to relax. Take your time on this side. When you're ready, and only when you're ready, bring that right palm under the right shoulder to press up and out. And just remember as you unravel to check in with that range of motion again, opening up that left palm toward the ceiling, just noticing, and then bringing it back down for tabletop. From tabletop, we'll bring the knees in toward one another, shins together. We're going to sit back onto the heels, and you can kind of center yourself in the mat. So if you're very far toward the back edge like I was, you can move up. Okay, so we're going to go next. Well, before we transition, let's do a little seated twist here. So when you're back up on your heels, find your long spine, reconnect with the breath, roll the shoulders back, and then use your hands to gently guide you to a twist on the left side. Just checking out your range, just doing a little toxin cleanse, and then walking the hands back through center, checking it out on the right side. When you feel good about it, you can come back through center. And just make sure your yoga blocks are close by. From here, we're going to come into a supported fish pose like we did last week, except the variation this week will be that your lower body is in hero pose. So it's sort of like a combination between supported fish and supported reclined hero pose. So from here, we're going to bring the heels out from under the hips and plant the hips on the mat. So if this is already way too intense on your knees, then we're going to skip this part in the lower portion and just extend through your legs. So legs will be straight out in front if it's way too intense. Okay, so from this hero base, we're going to recline to come into supported fish. So for that, you'll take your blocks and align them along the spine like we did last week. So just beyond your butt, where your low back starts, you want to be able to lay back on that first block. So it's the long way along the spine. Your other block will be in kind of a T shape, disconnected from the first block, just to support the back of the head. So you might need to adjust your blocks as we go. You can use your hands to guide yourself onto them. But from this pose, grounded through the hips or legs straight out in front, we're going to recline to bring that first block to just above the hips, into the low back, wherever is comfortable along the spine. So take your time finding that spot, getting into that position. When you feel comfortable and can release the hands, you can grab that second block to adjust it to under the back of the head. So you should be able to fully relax here and open up your palms toward the ceiling. If you can't, definitely adjust the blocks. You should be able to find a comfortable space, but it may take some adjustment. So take your time getting here. Once you're here, melt down into it, relax into it. Reconnect with your mantra, reconnect with the breath. Visualize that light blue glowing sensation in your throat region. Let your body know, or remind your body it's okay to relax. Take your time here. Remember, this practice is your own. So everything I suggest, it's just a suggestion. Listen to your body. If your feet are accessible and you want to feel that connection with the hands and the feet and close that energy loop, feel free to do so. If you'd rather rest your hands on the body or even at the throat, on the shoulders, on the chest, feel free to do so. Find whatever's comfortable for you. Notice what you feel and where. Notice your natural breathing rhythm. That natural flow of prana, of the life force, into and out of the physical body. Taking this time to manifest your truth and good communication. The ability to listen and share freely and openly. The ability to speak your truth and authenticity. Maybe just to take this time to practice gratitude for the throat chakra, the throat, the neck, the ability to communicate, whatever the case may be. Envelop yourself in a soft blue glow. Let go of what you don't need here. If this pose is very comfortable and you want to remain here for our final meditative pose, feel free. If you're ready to come out and move into Shavasana, we'll do so mindfully. Start by bringing the palms and the elbows to the mat. If you need to roll to one side or the other, you can. Just do so gently, listen to your body. Otherwise, you can use the hands and elbows to kind of push yourself back up to your seated hero. Remove those yoga blocks. Maybe get your pillow if you're ready for one. Even use your hands if you need to come out of that hero pose. Once again, feel free to just roll through the hips, through the knees. Take any easy movement you need to in transition to Shavasana. Coming into corpse pose, legs out long, arms out long, palms open toward the ceiling. You can just let the feet fall apart. Use a pillow if you want to. Reconnect with that natural breathing rhythm. Reconnect to your mat. Listen to the sound of your breath. Practicing non-attachment with your thoughts, turning inward, creating this space for yourself. And just coming back to the sound of the breath if you lose focus. Make sure you're not tensing or holding anywhere. All of your muscles are relaxed, especially through the head, the neck, and the shoulders. Not holding anything in the face, the jaw, the hands, the feet. Just letting everything relax. I encourage you to stay here in Shavasana as long as you'd like. Before I close the practice, I want to do a land acknowledgement. Just thank, respect, and honor the Monongahela, Osage, and Erie people who inhabited this land before me, recognizing their sacrifices and struggles, and that those struggles are ongoing. We'd also like to recognize that yoga is an ancient spiritual practice stemming from the subcontinent of India and Indian culture. We recognize and honor that heritage. We also recognize that yoga has many functions for many different peoples of the world, including building community. I thank you so much for being part of my community today. I hope you got what you needed here today, and I hope to see you again soon. Namaste.